Welcome to 2019.
They weren't expecting us.
No, they weren't.
That's fine.
We're not really here. We're in illusion.
We're illusion.
Yeah, kind of like this connection.
Kind of like my Halloween costume was.
Ooh, well, your Halloween and your Christmas, your ugly sweater.
No, I'm talking about the invisible one.
Oh, yeah, what you came in with it. Yeah. Hi, how are you? Welcome.
Hi, everybody. So, yeah, we were supposed to come live last night, but then, I don't know. Something happened. Who knows?
Yes.
You never know. We have a new hoverboard around here. My 10-year-old has a hoverboard. So I stepped on the hoverboard last night, and so did you, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
We'll never do that again.
Yeah.
We'll never do that again.
No.
It was life-threatening.
Hi from the UK. Hi, Angela, our coach.
Yes. Yeah. Life-threatening. Speaking of coach, let me just touch on this real quick. Coaching certification program has been rebranded, and it has been revamped, and it has been redone, and it is freaking awesome. So if you are interested in becoming a spiritual relationship coach, even twin flame coach, there's another coach.
I love you too.
As a matter of fact, Miss Christy is an instructor of our new program. Mm-hmm. One of our 4 instructors, which is Christy and Gina and Heather and Cassie, here to serve you. But the new program is being launched. We'll have an informational webinar coming soon. If you're interested in getting in on that informational webinar that has to do with the program, with the instructors, giving you some answers to your questions, then send us an email at info@relationshipreinvented.com, and we'll get you on the list for the webinar. That being said, I don't know what I was going on about something. Let's talk a little bit about the crap that happened over the holidays.
That's a good question. I'm sure you felt that way a few weeks ago. Can I coach twin? And if you don't fix this crap, knock his head off.
I tried that.
She really did.
I just knocked his hair off.
So I guess
was funny.
In your ability to coach, you're going to do it like the old boxing, like Rocky type thing. You'll be in the ring. Come on, Rock.
Yeah.
Keep your head up, right? No, that won't work.
Well, I mean, it might help that person feel better.
If we're hard-headed, because we have a tendency to be hard-headed. We have a tendency to be hard-headed, and when we're hard-headed,
he's hard-headed.
We're what?
You're hard-headed. Oh, look who's here! We will see you tomorrow.
Yes, I'm not necessarily hard-headed. I'm just.
He said head hard, me, but yeah, you are head hard.
Yes, head hard.
Sometimes hard-headed.
Yes, he said he loves me, and then did you put the butt, or did he put the butt? That's where you want to look.
He gave his hair for love.
Thank you. I do what I can.
I love it. It's been funny that we're just like both have ADD right now. We're just going everywhere.
He did.
So when he said but, it negated everything he said before that.
Yes. And how did
I love you, but.
Yeah.
The I love you didn't even matter.
So.
I did the dishes, but I left the pans in the sink.
Did you tell him the word you heard was but? Dishes. Because he needs to know that you paid very close attention to what he was saying to see if what he was saying will make sense. Mm-hmm. I guess we need to talk about 2019. What do I do now, Twin Flames? I mean,
oh man, let me tell you.
After this past season,
oh my gosh,
the holidays.
Look, I don't know what you guys went through, but I know we went through it. Mm-hmm. Some shit.
Yes.
And on top of that, I had family in. My mother was here for 7 days. I had family in from out of town for 7 days. It was a rough time, and we are noticing that we're getting a lot of inquiries from twins who have gone through the same thing. What is going on? What is going on? We were watching the news a little bit ago, and it said we haven't seen the sun in 7 days here in Ohio. That would make anybody depressed and irritable, right? Really, it's just gloomy and horrible out, right? Holidays is a really bad time. It's just if you don't have anybody and you're lonely and there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of pressure and there's people that come in from out of town and you don't want to hang out with your brother or your sister and you don't want to hang out with your family or your spouse's family or you know you're not going to hear from your twin or there's so much there's so much that goes on. It gets really overwhelming. And we took some time off of work, thank God, because we were going through it personally. And we needed to take a little bit of time for ourselves. And we did that. Well, really, we didn't, because we have family in. But today was our first full day. Was it today? First full day back.
Yeah.
Except for last week, we worked a couple days. But and it's some shit. Just what they said. Just shit. Just a bunch of icky, irritability, anger, holding in, a lot of finality, a lot of I can't do this anymore, a lot of he said, she said, a lot of love.
And what everybody experiences is a couple of things, I think, twofold, especially in this connection. And it kind of comes to, I'm going to kind of round it back to answer some of these, but here's how this works. In this connection, you have many deaths. Mm-hmm. Deaths of a thought process, deaths of a way of thinking, deaths of a belief system, deaths of things you're just not going to do anymore. A lot of deaths. And when those deaths occur, you sometimes don't have the words to communicate it in a way that lets the other person know you're doing it to be closer to them, not away from them. Mm-hmm. So things that rip you apart, things that you believe are ripping you apart, shouldn't you be the one to pull yourself back together? So in a lot of ways, the way that you can look at this is, in this connection is very interesting, because we hear more times than not that the person or one of the other two people says, I don't want a relationship. They're telling you this for a reason. We have gone in and out of relationship, but we have always been connected. The difference is that relationship goes by a set of rules. Connection doesn't.
Right.
And when you're trying to put relationship inside of connection, you end up with a whole bunch of broken, I don't know, promises, broken everything. Everything starts to break down because you have a set of expectations in relationship that connection doesn't understand.
Right.
And then you put all of your relationship ideas in this bucket that you don't really share with the person you're connected to, but you're expecting them to be a part of that relationship, and you really never even communicate it. When did you ever trust an emotional connection in a relationship? We'll wait. So as you look for, well, I don't know, it seems like Grand Central Station here, but
I know people are coming in like crazy.
Yeah, but so when you look at emotional connection, you're not looking for emotional relationship, because in both ways, you've never had either one. Who have you had in your life that you trusted all of your emotions with? For all of you that asked a bunch of questions, just go ahead and put me or not me, or I've tried, or it's never happened. Put that up here, because I believe that this is something very, very, very important. So no, we already have one no. Mm-hmm. Do we have more no's? Because what we're trying to give you is something very, very, very important. If you, on the inside, deep down, know that you've never trusted anyone with your emotions, this connection comes along and tests that in ways that you never imagined, in ways that are very painful, and in ways that you just didn't even see coming. And then on top of it, you put the expectation of relationship behind it. How is that going to help anyone in this connection? Because as far as we can tell, the closer we become, the more that we've had to be able to open up to each other emotionally, even after we told ourselves, oh, I'm not going to do that. We didn't see that the rejection happening in that space happened and did something to us in the connection. How do you depend on somebody if you've never been able to depend on yourself to share your emotions? Right. A lot of you said no. Opening emotionally feels tough. Okay, so if you're not vulnerable, how can you be loved? Good question, right? Well, this question is very important in this connection. If you don't have vulnerability, what do you have? If you can't be open with your heart with the person you're connected to, what do you have? These are tough questions, But they're questions that you're not asking yourself. You keep pointing at the other person as the reason you're not doing that for yourself. They just kind of have to show up to show you that maybe you open up or maybe you don't. And that's where it becomes very difficult because nobody's ever communicated to you in that space. I love my twin dearly, but my twin will tell you, I say some things that I'm saying that the other person might say, and she's going, nobody talks like that. And she's right. Nobody does talk like that. The reason they don't talk like that is because they don't talk like that in here. We've been together and been through some. If you've watched our journey, you know we've been through it.
And it's not over. No. We still go through it.
Yes. We go through everything you guys go through and we get it. That's why we're out here talking about it. Because if we don't talk to you about it, you're never going to find a way through, not a way from. What if we told you, because somebody told you in this connection, there's going to be separation. Well, what if they're not telling you is that that separation is already in you? Not in the other person, but in you. Then that's where you look. You want to look there before you look for separation. Look for where it's already separated in you in connection to yourself. We are so thankful that you are thankful that we put this out here, because if nobody was talking about it, you wouldn't know to look there. This connection demands you look at you first before you look at the other person. If you have somebody looking at you going, oh, I don't want a relationship, they're watching the relationship you already have in connection to you, the one you have with yourself.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that?
We just recorded a little snippet of a video for our Patreon site. And really, 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 really getting down to the core of this connection. I think what's happening a lot of times is, especially around the holidays when all this happens, we confuse relationship and connection.
Oh, it's easy to do.
And that's so big. And I think we're really going to do a lot of focusing on the difference and how big of a part you actually play in the connection and your responses and your thought processes and your stories and all of that, how it plays out. We're really going to be doing some focusing and listening to our Patreon members, what they want us to talk about. If you didn't watch our last video, we've started a Patreon site. Just go to patreon.com.
Specifically for Twin Flames.
Specifically for Twin Flames. Go to patreon.com, find Lee and Sherry Patterson, Twin Flames Lee and Sherry Patterson. It's exclusive stuff, and we're going to be talking to you one-on-one, our Patreon members. We're going to be doing live just like this, just with our Patreon members, and really getting down into some dirty meat.
Yes, and don't worry, we'll still be back.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Here's one to show you what we're going to do on the Patreon site. We're going to really deep dive into your connection to fear, which kind of supersedes your connection to your twin. How many of you could say honestly that you're more connected to them than you are your own fear? We don't really see ourselves being connected to fear, but guess what? We're all doing it. We're all not paying attention to it, and we all let it override our ability to open up, just like this question here that says, in the past, I would tell them how much I care about them, but on Christmas, I actually told them explicitly how I feel and that I love him unconditionally. So you're saying a lot of the time you told him you cared about him and you rejected the fact that he needed to hear the other part. Why didn't you just tell him when he felt it? This would be your connection to fear, not your connection to him. So look at those things, because those things are the things that really reach inside of you and show you the truth. It's easy to be connected to fear. Fear will tell you who you're not before it'll tell you who you are.
Understanding that this was a spiritual connection was a huge thing for me.
Ooh. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, it's what this person posted over here. And it was a very big thing for me too. Understanding that it was a spiritual connection. I didn't have to be physically with Lee. I didn't have to be a part of his everyday life. I was connected any damn way. And I was always going to be connected anyway. That was my awakening. That was my awakening. Realizing, not the bullshit mind noise, but really, really, really understanding and accepting and realizing that we didn't have to be together.
Mm-hmm.
We were always going to be connected. And we could go do other things. But there was this continuous pull that got me to like, well, shit, right? And the way the universe set that up, that doesn't happen for everybody. I understand that. I completely understand that.
I think I think the big thing for me was realizing that this connection when we worked together made me have expectations on you and greater expectations on you. The more we worked together, the more I started to tell myself who you would be to me if I did finally come to you, which really is a hard space to be in when you do come together, because you're holding all these expectations in a space that you had during the time you weren't with them, and they'll never measure up to that space, because in that space, you're connected to illusion. You're not connected to the real person. So what happens is you start telling or feeding your mind, or your mind starts feeding you what you should be getting, what you told yourself you were going to get when you got there.
Right.
But I never communicated. So what I had to end up battling with, which felt like separation, was what I told myself you would be to me versus what you actually are, and then allow you to have that space to come into my life so I could accept you. And I think you did the same with me.
Exactly, yeah.
And you literally have this space in between where you're expecting this person to be who you tell yourself they're going to be, and you never communicate it. And when they don't meet those expectations, you're telling yourself it's something about you.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to stop doing that. So if you've got a whole bunch of space of expectations of who this person is supposed to be, are they living up to your expectations? And did you tell them what those expectations were? Number one. Number two, who were you when you looked at them and said, this is who they were supposed to be? Are you living up to your own expectations of who would show up? Number two. But actually, number two is number one. So if they end up showing up and reaching out to you and then talking to you, let them know you. The you that you say that you saw when you saw them. I know that sounds confusing, but it really isn't that confusing. It's just hard to do because you have expectations they need to meet before you show up that way. And they don't know what those expectations are. So how's that fair in this connection?
Mm. How many divine masculine make their way to your site by themselves? You would be surprised. I'm going to go with it's around 50-50.
I would say that. I would say some feminine show up in divine masculine. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, but I would say if you're wanting male to female ratio, I'm going to give it 50-50. It's interesting because 6 years ago when we really first started,
another coach. Hey.
Oh yay!
Hi, Victoria.
Yep, another coach. Yeah. When we started Twin Flame Coaching, there was a lot more feminine, divine feminine. Even the kids would be like, man, you guys all talk to all women. And then something broke free. And then there was a point where we had mostly men on our books. And now it's an even, we have divine masculine coming to us who don't know who their twin is, who may have an idea who their twin is, who really just want to do some inner work and fix themselves so they have what you were talking about earlier, give that space to love somebody.
Yeah.
Right? It's really interesting, and it's quite fulfilling, actually. It's nice to see.
I'm a male divine feminine. Nice. Most of the males that did find us, we did find one common theme that seems to be a theme that this planet keeps in its back pocket and wields like a knife. And that's that men or masculine can't show emotion or be emotionally available. So you kind of go up against the wall already, because if you want to open up your emotions, and since you were never taught to share your emotions, you struggle with it. And usually that's how we get lost in this connection. Because when we want to emotionally connect, there's never been a platform or some what is the word I'm looking for? There's been no foundation for that to happen or to occur in connection. So what you end up doing is you end up asking a bunch of questions, and then when they're like, well, I need some time to sit with this, the impatience sets it. And the impatience energy is the worst energy that we have, because it says no peace, and no peace will be found until you answer me. And the other person feels completely responsible for never answering. And that really causes a whole bunch of, my DM lives in Ohio. Sorry. I pray he finds your site.
He may have.
He may have. I want to make sure we answer.
Yeah, I don't mean to be skipping around, but when expectations are so different, what do you do?
Do you meet your own expectations in that space? In the space that you're giving the other person, do you meet your own expectations? What you may find is that there's expectations you place on the other person before you place them on yourself. An example would be, I expect my twin to come back when they're in trouble only. And if they come back, I'm going to have to be leery and be mindful and pay attention to them, because they might be wanting something that they always come for. Versus, I want them to come to me differently, and I'm going to show up differently. And when they show up, are you showing up differently, and do you have the expectation met when you do that? So what you might end up doing is staying in a loop or a cycle for years based on your communication with the person you're connected to, because you've grown to expect it. But what if you just let go of those expectations? One twin wants friendship, the other wants relationship. Friendship and relationship, are they connection? We've been able to establish those things between us, but we both know we both suck at relationships.
And that was even a work in progress. There are times when we're not friends.
No, we're not friends.
We're not friends right now. We're not friends for another hour and a half.
Well, we have it split because we have lovers, friends, a relationship, our union, our marriage, co-workers, and then
parents,
sounding boards, grandparents, all of it. So if you look at all of that and see what's connected, the ones that were connected through that we know to the core we're connected in, we do extremely well in, but the other parts are causing all kinds of friction in that connection.
Right.
So you got to look at it as though you're looking at two things, because I know somebody said, you lost me. So I don't want to lose you. I want you to go back, watch this again, because what I was telling you was, in connection, where is your relationship with yourself? And if you're in a relationship with yourself, what does that look like before you look at the person you're connected to? Because they can watch you in relationship to yourself and decide this is not for them. But that doesn't mean they can say, I want to disconnect from you now. It just doesn't work that way, does it? I think we've all been guilty of trying to remove a connection. I think disconnection is what I want more than anything. I want disconnection more than anything.
And we've heard of it all. I want to cut these cords.
Ooh. Yeah, you're cutting.
You guys already know my opinion on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so bad. But anyway,
Can you explain more about the sexual bond? It was the most powerful I've ever felt, a mix of physical and spiritual experience, and yet I rejected him with disgust, as if sex could not be spiritual. So you communicated with them deeply through a sexual connection, but then refused to in any other connection, whether that's emotional, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's in all of the other aspects of where you could connect. That one seems to be the one that you really open your heart and actually allow the connection. So here's what you do. The sexual bond in this connection, your heart's open. See if your heart's open in other ways that you could connect. Pay very close attention to this. We see more now than we've ever seen. Is it easier to be in this connection with your heart open or closed? Sexually, it's hard to close your heart if you're with somebody sexually. In our connection, my heart is completely open. And hers is too. But when we have conversations, sometimes we have that little open door, closed door thing with the heart. And we still
do that.
We're very, very close. I mean, you guys have watched us and you guys have seen us come from the beginning to here. And we're still here talking about it. So we're still here telling you it's just as strong as ever. But you're going to have to get out of your head to see it. Because the head is one of the most dangerous things in this connection. It's the one that sabotages you in this connection.
We have a session we've got to get to.
Yes.
But there's so many questions that I'm dying to answer over here. I'm biting at the bit.
Go ahead. We got just a few seconds.
Sherry, did you feel repelled by him shortly before union? Yes. Yes. Very much so. Very much so. He wants union though. We need to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to talk. Spirit's talking to me about that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You done got her spirit riled up?
Yeah, way to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions that we didn't get to talk to. But look, we did get a question on how do you become a coach. Send us an email, info@relationshipreinvented.com. We have just launched the new certification program. Our umbrella coaching program is amazing. We've got 4 instructors now who are instructing this program. Informational webinar. The whole program's been rebuilt from the ground up. We're really super excited and proud of it. If you're interested in being a coach, send us an email at info@relationshipreinvented.com. If you're interested in.
And just so you know, that it changed enough to let you know 6 months of connection coaching to yourself before you get into the actual program itself. So it's not just for the weak at heart. If you really want to go through and see the connection to yourself, these coaches will do it. And they'll do it in a way that you've never seen. They can go into a deeper version of boot camp than it's really out there, even what we do. But of course, we're the creators. But there's a space there where we've shown them that this is never ending. The connection to you is never ending.
For sure. There was a question: what signs are we? Lee is a Libra. I'm a Gemini. And nobody's dead. We're fine.
I keep
the
it
night's
in
early.
balance.
The night's early.
Yeah.
You never know.
But I love both of her. I balance it out.
It's weird.
We love you
we
guys.
We do love you guys. Check out our Patreon site, patreon.com. Patreon. I don't know. I always mess that up.
Patreon. We're going to be exclusively taking time. As a matter of fact, we did have somebody just ask the first question today, and they want us to do some short, unconditional love versus self-love. So if you're looking for some answers,
we'll
find us over there.
And Patreon's exclusive with us and you guys, and we're gonna do some really cool stuff over there. If you're interested in root camp, any of that,
I don't know about that.
Maybe. He's kind of cute, so when he's naked, he's even cuter.
Here, maybe.
You're not taking your shirt.
No. It's there. I'm naked.
I thought he was getting
naked.
naked.
I got a piece of that would be me.
I thought he was getting naked. I was like, wait a minute. We have to discuss that.
See, all right. We love you guys.
Root camp. If you'd like personal sessions with Lee and I, if you're interested in root camp, email info@relationshipreinvented.com. A lot of changes this year. We're having a blast.
Yes. Wow.
And we are going to be doing some awesome things. We love you guys.
What do you do this year that you didn't do last year? Look for the connection to yourself first before you look for somebody else. That's what you look for.
Wrong channel. He was about to take his clothes off.
No, it wasn't.
That's for the Patreon site.
Oh.
Just kidding. You're not going to get nakedly in a Patreon site. It depends.
We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
We love you. Bye.